Yes, people. Welcome to Man Knows Football. You are here with Guni and Matisse in some very dark times currently at Chelsea Football Club. Hence why you see this jersey has come back out. If you have been, well, it's not even that long ago. This is the season when we finished 10th and it was just doom and gloom. But the following season, we did get the league. But right now, obviously, it's not as bad as it was back then. But I'm still down in the dumps about Chelsea Football Club. Matisse, talk to me. Let me know. How are you doing, my guy?
Not happy, man. Not happy. The Brighton performance is more what's annoying me. I mean, the result is not great. Of course, it's poor to drop points to Brighton twice. Both of them very recently, of course, as well at Stamford Bridge. But the performance was so bad, and there's a lot to address, man. There's a lot to address because it's on the pitch, but it's also a consistent running theme since 2017. We haven't won a league title. We've been off the pace since then, nowhere near challenging. This season, I was hoping we could fugazi it. We're nowhere near challenging Man City. Man City have gone out, blown us out the water, and it all starts with the recruitment, the scouting, and the board, because now they need to look at themselves and say, why have we not got Chelsea competing consistently at the top level? Even though, yes, we want to, break even and we don't want to spend. I think Chelsea have recorded 145 million losses, tax losses. Luckily, and I don't know if I said this on our show last week, luckily we have youth. We have players that are free so we don't have to go out there and splash a lot of money. But unfortunately, the stupid scouting and poor signings we made all those years ago in 2018, 19, 17, they're costing us now because we can't get rid of them and therefore we can't progress. So it's just a conveyor belt of nonsense, bro, and it all starts with the board and the scouting network.
No, absolutely. And it's like you said in your stream previously, if you weren't on Matisse's stream earlier with Lee Gunner, I can't remember the
Fuad and Corey, yeah.
Definitely check that one out. But it's like you're saying earlier, bro, like my concern, and it was kind of an eye-opener, bruv, when you said it, is my concern is this. Is like we've got this youth academy in Cobham where we're just producing fantastic talent. But we're just the gift that keeps on giving. The way we've been giving away points over the month of December, yesterday, we're doing the same with the youth academy. We've got Broya, he's over at Southampton. We've got Livramento, he's over at Southampton. We had Lamptey, he's over at Brighton. We've got Gallagher, he's over at Crystal Palace. Understandable when you look at the time in terms of context and the amount of minutes some of these guys will be getting. They might not be getting those minutes. But at the same time, it's like we're saying, they would be getting minutes if Deadwood wasn't in the team, and weren't taking up wage space. So it's a bit of a dilemma because now you're moving these guys up into the team where you've got these senior players that clearly Thomas Tuchel don't want, and I don't care what nobody says. Or a manager's never gonna come out and blatantly say these man, get them out. Don't want them. Yeah, but you just know there's certain players that he don't want to play with. So it's just the planning at this club has been shameful. And obviously the 1-1 result yesterday, right? It was almost like poetic justice the way Lamptey ran riot in the first half, in my opinion. It was just a message to the board to say, you see what you did with your poor recruitment methods. You see what all this Deadwood is doing. And yes, speaking on yesterday, it was going into that game. I don't know a single Chelsea fan that said with their chest that they'd come out with 3 points. Most of them truthfully knew it's going to be a draw. We was going to get dominated. And as soon as I saw Cucurella and Lamptey on that team sheet, and I looked at our team sheet, I was like, we are going to be in for a long evening. If we do somehow win this, it's going to be ugly. If we draw it, it's going to be ugly. We are going to get dominated. And that's what happened yesterday, Matisse. But what was glaring for you in the match yesterday?
For me, the lineup from the get-go, I was like, yeah, this is not going to go well. And to be honest, we know in modern day football, you need your fullbacks, you need your wing-backs in whatever formation you play. There's no escaping from the fact that Alonso and Azpilicueta are extremely limited footballers. And make this team very one-dimensional. They don't help support the attack. which makes it more difficult for them. And obviously, you know, it's just harder to even play out from the back with them because they're not as fluid, and they don't have the array of options in their skill set for them to beat the press and to escape press. So they really are hindering the team all round. But when I seen Ziyech, Pulisic and Lukaku as a front three, I said to myself, this is not going to work. Because where's the chemistry between those three? Those three don't even know each other's game like that at all. Pulisic, I've been saying it so often. These attackers, people keep saying, oh, we're not getting the best out of attackers. We're not getting the best out of attackers. Maybe if we switch to a back four, we'll get the best out of attackers. Maybe if we throw an extra attacker up there, we'll get the best out of our attackers. These attackers that were purchased do not fit together. They're all from different walks of life. Pulisic is a dribbler. Pulisic, his ideal forward to play with would be a target man. Would be like an Olivier Giroud, like a Hazard would love his Olivier Giroud. Someone who he can play the ball off, hold up the play, and he can get the ball back, bounce it off of him and get it back. Pulisic doesn't switch play. Pulisic doesn't cross the ball aerially for Lukaku. Pulisic doesn't have the awareness to pick the ball up and play it in behind for Lukaku on a consistent basis, because Pulisic isn't that type of winger. He just isn't. He isn't going to play the ball in behind to Lukaku. That's not his first thought. His first thought is to get the ball, to dribble, and someone else to come short so he can get it, play 1-2s and go off again and try and get the goal. That's what Pulisic wants to do. Lukaku's not built for that. Lukaku wants to run in behind. He wants someone direct. If you had someone like Cesc Fabregas, when we used to have him in this team, Lukaku would feast, because Lukaku's making those runs. He's signaling him for certain types of passing behind. And Fabregas would spot that and he'd play it in behind to him. And Lukaku would get way more change. But I have to ask people again, who in this team is an elite passer on a consistent level, on a consistent basis to play that ball in behind? They're not easy balls to play. I mean, sometimes they are. Kante picked it up in the right channel, refused to play the ball in behind to Lukaku. I watched it in broad daylight. Lukaku signaling, Kante just keeps dribbling off into no man's land, doesn't play the pass. Azpilicueta was caught doing it last game against Manchester City, I believe. Ziyech against Tottenham last week was playing that pass a little bit more directly to Lukaku, but Ziyech is inconsistent. I keep saying it to people. He's not world class, so don't expect world class performances on a consistent basis. Sometimes he's going to have a good day and he's going to score a goal, even though he played poorly before that goal. Sometimes he's going to have a bad day and the pass is not going to come off like Man City, where he tried to put it across the face of the goal and it was under hit. Mason Mount, this is one area of his game he needs to improve on, the final ball. Yes, he does get assists. Yes, he does create chances. A lot of the time that is because he is on some of the set pieces and he is putting the ball in from the corners. And also he just is a bit relentless like Timo Werner. So he will always find a way at some point to statistically get involved. But his overall performance was poor. I don't like moments players. So I'm not going to be a hypocrite and say to you, Alonso's a moments player, scores a free kick, but overall poor performance. Ziyech, moments player, gets the goal, overall poor performance. Mason, statistically this season, nice, but a lot of poor performances, a lot of drop-off. For me personally, last season, performance-wise, he was a lot better. He may be better statistically this season, but last season, performance-wise, Mason was better. Hence why he got Player of the Year. And people, and this is why I get onto Bruno Fernandes' case last season at Manchester United. Got the goal, got the goals, but again, performance-wise, not always looking good. I want performances. I don't want these moments players to just drop, because you know what, when you're a moments player and you can conjure up something out of nothing, let me tell you something, that's not consistent. Because when he doesn't conjure up anything, then what now?
Yeah.
What now? So if you have a base level performance that you can put out, you're more likely to be consistent and give us constant output or constant contribution throughout the season. These moments players, not going to happen. And like I said, it all comes back down to the scouting, because all of these attackers, they fit different formations. When someone says, oh, we need to focus on our attack, what attack? How do we build with Werner and Lukaku and Pulisic and Ziyech? How does that make sense in your mind? Two strikers that want the ball played in behind. Nobody can hold the ball up. The one person that can maybe link up the play a bit better is Kai. But then Pulisic's a dribbler. Can't really pick up his head to spot those runs, for those are two attackers that are making the runs in behind. Hudson-Odoi can't shoot. Ziyech is inconsistent. These guys are missing too many fundamental traits to build a team around, to build an attack around. And Tuchel knows that, which is why he's not building the team based on the attack. Because if he was to do that, he would sacrifice the defense, probably the midfield, because he doesn't have the six, and Chelsea would be even worse. Chelsea would be even worse. 100% Tuchel has to take some accountability for not making the changes earlier, for playing Pulisic as a target man when he probably should have been a left forward in the front two against Everton and against Wolves. But these are very minor things. I could say we could probably have 5-6 points more this season. We still wouldn't be in the title race. But that's maybe you could say Tuchel should have us maybe having a couple more points. I said, for me, the gap to City should be no more than 7 at the end of the season. But there's no point harping on about that. Do you know why? Because it's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is not Tuchel, who has us in all cup finals in under a year. The biggest problem is the fact that this club can't scout. They have Ross Turnbull as a scout. Please tell me, what has Ross Turnbull done in his career to be a Chelsea scout?
Why is Scott McLachlan head scout when he's done this job? He's done a poor job so far, in my honest opinion.
Yeah.
Because if you're having Peter Cech, I'm grateful he picked out Mendy, 100%. Yeah,
but he's also inexperienced.
This is what I'm saying, and that's not
You're competing with technical directors like Tiki
and Monchi and them man.
Monchi at Sevilla.
Yeah.
Bro, this is what I'm talking about.
And now Rangnick
even Ralph
Man
Rangnick.
United. Yeah, fam. This is what I'm saying. So for me, it's just like you've got to look at the blame is so easy to put the blame on the manager. Or
it's so easy, bro. And do you know what? Chelsea fans don't even understand the cycle that they're doing it again. Oh, my manager needs to try this. Great statistic in here. 18 games in 59 fucking days, bro. Where's the time on the training pitch with all of these new cases and injuries every 5 minutes? Lack of backing from the board because of previous mistakes made in 2018-17. You want him to conjure up a new formation. How is he going to do that with such limited time to work with the players? We've had no break for him to think of new tactics. We've had no time to work on the training pitch. It's recovery game.
Yep. And then when
people are expecting so much.
Yeah, and then when you actually look at the options available to us, right? On the face of it, you look at N'Golo Kante, Kovacic, and to some, maybe even Jorginho as well, and you should say, yeah, that should be enough to get you through a season. No, it's not, because these guys are humans too. Because once one of these guys, for me, the argument is more so for Kovacic and Kante. I'm going to come on to Jorginho in a minute, right? But you see, with those two, you can't have them running on full gas all season. You've seen this with Kante. He's been broken since Sarri. We was crying out for this guy to have a break since Sarri, which was what, 17, 18 or something like that. Yeah, 4 seasons we've been crying out for. And even to this season, we're bringing this guy back in moments where he's not supposed to be coming back. We're rushing him back because of the limitations we're clearly seeing in that midfield. Yeah, which brings me on to Jorginho. Now, some people are saying you've got an agenda against this guy. No, this is what I'm saying. I don't think he's a shit player. I never once said that. He's an all right player, but you have to facilitate for this guy too much. And that, in my opinion, is also a bottleneck when you have to constantly facilitate to one of your main players. And that's one of the things, in my personal opinion, that I think is hindering us back. And it's like you said, bringing that number 6 who is capable, right, to not only do his job without having to facilitate for him constantly, but is also able to take the pressure off certain players like Kante, who needs to sit down and take a rest. You get me? And that way you can also tactically make changes too, because you have a different type of player with more dimension who is more capable of doing that actual role.
But bro, this is why I was doing too many prop in the summer, and shout out to Monster and Nini who really put him on the map for me. I was watching some of their analysis videos on this guy, and I was like, "Yeah, this is you're absolutely spot on. This is the fit." And Scott McTominay, the scout. That's what I'm going to call him. I'm not going to call him his last name like you do. Scott McTominay, the scout. He said, "Nah, we're going to go with Saul because we've been watching him for 2 years, and we're going to give Tchouaméni an extra year in France to adapt." You see, when Man City and Liverpool buy players like Cancelo, like Rodri, like Fabinho, like Keita, they let the first year be the bedding in period.
Yes.
And then when the time comes now for that player to step up to the plate, they're ready to go because they haven't been forced into the team with an overload of responsibilities. They've been allowed to acclimatize and to adapt. When Chelsea bring in players, they have to go straight into the team. Why? Because the team wasn't good enough before.
Exactly.
Why? Because we didn't prepare and plan with the squad.
Exactly.
That's the issue. Tchouaméni should be here right now, playing around half the games, Jorginho plays the other half. So then next season, Tchouaméni is acclimatized and adapt to the Premier League, ready to go. That is what we should be doing. But instead, we decided we're going to go with Saul because we've been scouting for a couple of years, failing to realize that the guy has literally been poor for the last 18 months. Why are we trying to revive players? This is why I don't want Hazard. I don't want Hazard for 2 reasons. One, because it's another plaster over the overall crack. 2, because he's not fit. I'm pretty sure Petr Cech, I spoke to one of my mates and on the way back from the City game and taking the train. Pretty sure Petr Cech said to a fan that were asking about Hazard, he's not fit.
You want surgery.
You want Tuchel to play a pressing system from the front. And now we've already added Lukaku, who I hold my hands up. He's not been anywhere near the multifaceted striker I claimed he would be. Because I fell for the ego and I fell for the prop and the PR. And I hold my hands up. I thought Lukaku was a changed man. I thought this brother was going to be pressing from the front because he'd worked harder under Conte. He was a lot slimmer. I thought he was going to be able to hold the ball up a lot better than he does. Yes, I know he wants to run into the right channel, but he told us he was multifaceted. So I thought Lukaku was going to cover it all. I'm not going to lie. So I hold my hands up because what I saw in Serie A clearly is not translating over here. But again, Hazard is not the solution. Going back to your ex is never a solution.
Never.
Just move on. This guy is not fit. He can't press the way we want to press. The way that we started
he didn't even when he was, because you remember Sarri was playing him as a false 9 because of that reason.
And again, do you know why people are clinging onto this name? Because we can't go out there and scout someone properly like we should. Go out and find someone that not everybody's got on FIFA. Go out and get someone that's actually tailor-made for the team. That's not really obvious to the normal eye, because we're just fans. We're not scouts. I don't blame myself for not having targets. Don't blame yourself in the chat either. If people are asking you for solutions, tell them you're not paid to do that.
Big man
if we were
thing.
all paid
Facts.
to be scouts,
Facts.
then we could all fly across Europe and go and watch players, and I'm sure we'll be able to come up with some names. We're not paid to do this job. That's Scott's job. That's somehow, miraculously, Ross Turnbull's job. Go and find the players, because Liverpool do it.
Yep.
With Timmercast. City do it. So why can't we? Why do we always have to go with the obvious bait target that has put up lovely statistics? Hazard hasn't even done that.
That's the thing. And Matisse, just going back to what you were saying, right? This situation with Erling Haaland, right? Before he went to Dortmund, it was clear. Everybody and their dog could see, nah, this one here is special. Why weren't we in for this guy? Why are we never in for these guys ever? Tielemans, how did he go to Leicester, for example? That's one I knew from Anderlecht that should have been playing in one of the top teams. You get me? And we can continue, we can go on, but like, how are we not this team? Because listen, some people were going to say, well, why do we need to go and scout youngsters when we've got our academy? All right, cool. But are we using them? Are they coming into the first team? How are they benefiting with the first team or even for the team? How are they benefiting? In what way?
But do you see how now all the shortcuts we took after we won the title all those years ago are coming back to haunt us?
Yeah.
All those signings of Zappa Costa, of Drinkwater, of not a lot. And this is where I will criticize Marino, because I usually give her flowers when she does her job, and I have rarely criticized her. The one thing I will say is that she needs to be less stubborn. But that also comes from Roman, because if we're recording 145 million tax losses and we made money over the summer, that tells me Roman's probably not putting money into the club anymore, because he's trying to be self-sustainable, which is what we're meant to be trying to do. How are we going to be self-sustainable? Use the young players. Why can't we use Livramento and Lamptey? Why are they running out of contract? Why are they leaving? Because we can't convince them to stay. Why can't we do that? Because we have deadwood. Why do we have deadwood? Because we cut corners before and we didn't bring in quality players and we didn't do our due diligence. We should never have signed some of these guys that are on the books. We should never have really offered Marcos Alonso a 5-year extension.
Ever.
We shouldn't. But because we're doing these things and we're having a constant change of managers who get a tune out of these players for a league title or a Champions League, and then they fall on their ass again, and there's no consistent performance at the top level, like a Manchester City, who are now going to probably do 4 in 5 years, we keep putting faith into these players. I saw people in the summer saying, why don't we give Bakayoko another go?
Madness. But
Alonso's fine. Alonso's going to be fine. Fuck it. I know Chilwell's injured, but Alonso will be just fine. You guys are underrating him. You're not respecting Alonso. People are caught up in the past too much to move on into the future.
Because and you know what? When we're in situations like this, that's when desperation kicks in. This is why you hear things like bring back Emerson or sign Digne. Because listen, you see these players that I'm mentioning. If we're speaking facts and we're in the summer and we're talking about number one targets for positions, are these names even coming up, or are we mentioning these names because we're desperate now? And if we keep getting caught in the desperate now cycle, we're gonna stockpile on deadwood, bro.
Yeah.
So it's just.
And do you know what? Even though we need a left wing back, I'm kind of glad now that I reflect on it that we didn't go and buy Lucas Digne, because I feel like if Tuchel doesn't want Lucas Digne, then don't bring him in. Don't go and buy him for 30 million. Because he's 28, he's got a little bit of an injury prone, and he's not even perfect anyway. There are some flaws for his game. Do we need him? Do we need a left wing back? 100%. But what we need even more is some long-term squad building and planning and structure. That starts with having some proper scouts. That starts with stop haggling with these deadwood players and stop giving them one-year extensions and send them back out on loan. Because I keep pulling back to this example. When Batshuayi had a great year at Dortmund, Dortmund offered us 40 million. We turned it down and said we want 60. Barcelona offered us 50 million for Willian. We turned it down and said he's not up for sale. Suddenly now these players are leaving for free, and we didn't get the money we could have got, and we still got Batshuayi on the books. We still got Barkley on the books. All of these deadwood players that we don't need to have in the squad. Harvey Vale could easily do Barkley's role this season.
Easily.
Nobody's going to tell me otherwise.
Easily. Let's take it even deeper than that. Lewis Hall, we should have never looked back. I understand he's a 17-year-old, and I hate to put pressure. Listen, I always say it. I hate putting pressure on.
Brother just did his GCSEs, bro. We shouldn't even have to.
But this is the conversation. This is the situation that we're faced with, my guy. Yeah, I don't like throwing in these youths into the first team, but we're literally in a situation where, God's honest, listen, even with my football thinking rational head on, bro, Lewis Hall is a better option than Marcus Alonso. And if we're talking meritocracy here, bro, he needs to step into that team. Unfortunately, bro. Unfortunately. But this is
not even me to say that every young player can stay. I think Lewis Bate made perfect sense. Listen, we got Gilmore, we got Gallagher. Youth sometimes compete with the youth. And it's not every young player that's going to make it. I've said that so many times. Tomori Gurhi, you're probably lucky to keep one of them. Not both, one of them. That makes sense too. For me, if Levi Colwell stays, then that's great. And then we can move on from the other two. But when you're chasing a wing back that can play both sides like Hakimi, which is what Tuchel wanted, a wing back, like Hakimi, Damo Traore, so he could have depth at both sides in the most athletic position in the team. So if we did have injuries and we did need to rotate and rest, we wouldn't lack the intensity, lack the pace, which is what we're lacking right now from Alonso and Azpilicueta. We had that in Livramento, and obviously Lamptey left earlier. One of them, not both. I don't expect both of them to stay. Absolutely not. I don't expect to sit here and say that we're going to have Reece James, Lamptey, Livramento, and Chilwell.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Unrealistic.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But to keep one of them would have been possible if we didn't have Baba Rahman, Alonso, Emerson, all on the books.
Even to an extent, as much as I love him, he's been one of the greatest servants to this club. Azpilicueta's getting to that point now where he's becoming a bottleneck. Because listen, if we're being honest with each other, he's not what he was. He's on the decline now. You see what I'm saying? What you're asking him to do at the minute, you see, it's like you said, this man's gassing out after 70 minutes, bro. The man's running around with his mouth open after like 50 minutes, 55 minutes, bro. The man's struggling, you get me?
No new contract, man.
Yeah.
I love him. Give him a testimonial. Let him carry him off the pitch on the last game. But there doesn't need to be a new contract. There really doesn't.
There's no,
honestly.
We're not,
especially not 2 years with an option of a third. No way.
If we were in a situation like Manchester City where we've got so many quality options everywhere and our squad is strong, okay, maybe there is that little bit more room for sentiment, but you have to look at the situation that we're in. Now, obviously, Matisse, we've been talking about just like other areas outside of the manager and the players, but I want to come back to Thomas Tuchel a little bit because I felt yesterday, right? He was late in terms of making changes in the game. I was crying out for a substitution from being honest. From what I was seeing, I wanted to see a sub at half time, bro. And I don't know if it was just an emotional response to what I was seeing, because I was so pissed off and dissatisfied at the fact that we was getting dominated by Brighton. And to rub it in, one of our youth players is taking the ball from his own third, final third of his own half, and he's driving into our final third, mate. Making a mockery of our weak positions where he could have been playing. So I was crying out for some kind of change. And then I sat down and I realized, like, what kind of change are we going to make that's even going to make a difference here, to tell you the truth? But let's get down to Thomas Tuchel. Do you think he needs to hold some kind of responsibility for some of his results? Because I do feel that he is a bit late to the call to make substitutions at times and change things up.
I've been extremely sympathetic to Thomas Tuchel. I am one of his staunch supporters. If this brother, if there's even an inkling of this brother going in before a lot of these players and a lot of these scouts, and we're just gonna just do this hokey cokey, roll it to the walls, fall off, do this cycle all over again, then personally, I'm gonna start talking very differently about this football club if this guy gets sacked. So that's the first thing. Do I think he could have been a little bit better? 100%. But he is also a human being. That's what we also need to remember. He's never going to be perfect. We are not going to find a manager that makes every single decision perfectly that we want. Look at Pep in the Champions League final. No DM. Horror show, yeah. That's the best manager in the world right now. Look at Pep bringing in Bravo for Joe Hart. Shocker. Absolute howler. But do you know the difference? When they make a howler over there, they mop that shit up quickly, fast, and they keep it moving. You don't, their howlers don't stick about. Because if that was Chelsea, Bravo would have been in that Chelsea team for 2-3 more years, holding us back. But at City, they don't play like that. You make a howler, cool. 90% of the time, you're spot on. And that's how I feel about Tuchel. 90% of the time, he's spot on. When you're getting the best out of the defense, the same defense that has never been world-class, most of them, apart from Thiago Silva and Azpilicueta, and, you know, some of the young guys have obviously got potential like Reece and Chilwell, but their games have gone up this season before injury. Rudiger was never world-class. Christensen was never world-class. Trevor Chalobah's just come back from a loan in France. Alonso, I don't even need to speak. He's elevated that defense. Look at Kepa. Kepa's a whole new goalkeeper. Yeah, people will say he conceded that goal against De Bruyne, but for me, that's not where the game was won and lost. I know that's where the goal went in, but the game was won and lost in a completely different manner, in my opinion. That was a ticking time bomb. We were always going to lose that game. I was sitting there waiting for the goal to go in. Made some big saves. Kepa's values shot right back up to something respectable. Midfield, a very limited midfield with a lot of issues that has hampered our club for years. Didn't replace Matic, didn't replace Mikel, didn't replace Fabregas, didn't replace the six, and didn't replace the creativity. But he still managed to get that midfield in a system that is winning the Champions League and has got us in where we are. With no second six, because they wanted to cut shortcuts with Saul.
Yep.
And Kante, who's injury prone, who should have been replaced a year ago, not sold, but we should have had a Kante alternative in terms of energy and output a year ago. But we don't have that. And we don't have that person still to this day. So we're over reliant on Kante. He's had all of that backbone of the team. And he's done what he's done. He's put it together. It works. Now, because he can't get the front part of the team, I'm meant to throw my toys out the pram. Are you mad? Because he can't get the front part of the team that is from shit scouting, from all different walks of life. This is Lampard's attack.
Pick and mix.
The only attacker he's brought in is Lukaku. And to facilitate Lukaku, you need the creator that we don't have, the Fabregas, the Juan Mata, the Kevin De Bruyne, the Paul Pogba.
Yeah.
We talk about Belgium. Who do they have? Who have they had? Hazard, De Bruyne. We talk about Manchester United, even though he wasn't great. Who did they have? Pogba. So we don't have the creator. So Tuchel hasn't been able to bring in more players yet. He's only got Lukaku. Saul, I'm not even going to count that. You want me to get onto him because he can't make every single individual in the squad perfect. It's not going to happen because Pep didn't do that and Klopp didn't do that. At their respective clubs, when they first came in, they started clearing out. They didn't keep Karius and Alberto Moreno. They didn't keep Joe Hart, who was a 2-time Premier League winner. He didn't teach him how to play out the back. They brought in their own players. Pep recycled about 3 fullbacks. The entire defense, Otamendi, all these guys. Was allowed to make a few mistakes, but most of them he got them correct.
Yeah, that's
Klopp,
yeah.
whole new team. But because Tuchel in his first full season can't get these attackers that we want to put on this pedestal, who, when you go through them individually, have really not done anything in their careers to warrant this. Oh, they cost 300 million worth of attacking talent. My guy, value goes up and down. They were worth 300 million when we paid for them, and unfortunately, they're not now. So don't put this 300 millions worth of attacking talent in your brain and actually try and pretend like as if these guys are really worth that, because we've overpaid for players before. Kepa's not worth 78 million. We don't sit here and say to Tuchel, come on, we need you to get the best out of our 70 million goalkeeper. That's 70 millions worth of talent. Don't piss me off with this nonsense, people, on social media. Wake up. We made mistakes with the attacking players that we bought. Werner was a mistake. Whether you like it or not, it was a mistake. I love his attitude. I love his commitment. But technically, fundamentally, he's not a good enough footballer for what the standards usually are. Not even on Florent Malouda's level of technical ability, let alone some of the stars I've been mentioning. Ziyech is a hit and miss 28-year-old who was in Eredivisie for a reason and is not world class. Yes, he made that lovely pass against Bayern Munich. Go and click that shit up and go and put it as an NFT because I'm telling you now, he's not world class, and that's why he is where he is right now in his career. He's not. He's a moments player. I said it before he signed. Moments player. Don't take all these attackers and say, yeah, too cool. You got to get the best out of these guys. Have got to be that you have to use them because we spent money before he arrived and made mistakes. They're not all bad. They're not all bad. Don't get me wrong, but they're not all worth sacrificing the rest of the team for to now go towards an attack that is, for me, going to be inconsistent anyway, and then negating the defense. So what he's done for me, I back him to the hills, and he's made a few mistakes, but he's not the issue here.
All right, so before we move on to the FIFA Best Awards, let's just quickly touch on some of our youth players that are in our first team. So obviously this question here is about Callum Hudson-Odoi. Has he begun to regress at Chelsea? And do you think the best way for him is a move away? And then after this, we'll touch on Mason Mount before we move on. But I'll say this with Callum Hudson-Odoi. I think the reasoning is basically what we've been saying up until this point. You get me? It's not just down to one individual. Yes, the performances that we're seeing from him, like the chances in front of goal that he's missed, that's down to him. It's not good enough. But I'm looking at it as a club as a whole and where we should be. And I've said this before. Callum Hudson-Odoi, where he is at and the age that he is, we shouldn't be putting this much pressure on him. There should be another player ahead of him who could take the pressure off him of better quality. But we're not having that at Chelsea. Mason Mount is another one. We got to talk about the amount of games this brother has played. Yeah, because this brother's a human being as well. He played what, like 60 games last season, and he's just been relentlessly, like Lampard used him relentlessly. You get me? Then obviously he didn't fall out of the team when Tuchel came in, and then this season as well. Like this was coming, and on top of that, you can't expect week in, week out world-class performances from every single youngster. Those youngsters that you see that are doing that, they're an exception to the rule. But for some reason, like football fans of today, they've become accustomed to saying, right, once a player plays one good game, he's not allowed to play another bad game, especially when he's young. When that's not the case. But the situation with Callum, let's hear your thoughts on that, Matisse.
Callum, for me, is a player that last night I was very disappointed in. He wasn't taking his man on. He was getting the ball, passing it back, getting the ball, passing it back. Not really taking on his man, not putting people on the floor, not putting players on bums. And my issue is his shooting, and that for me is what separates the top modern day wingers from the good or average ones, is the shooting. Because your output, especially if you're right footed, on the left, you got to be able to shoot. And I've said this before about Callum. As much as everybody knows, I rate Callum and I think he's got potential, but he has to be able to finish. And until he can finish, he's not going to be a top winger. So that's something he has to improve. He's got no choice. And he's not going to be a consistent starter. until he improves that. The 1v1 situation is obviously not what I'm used to, because when he first broke onto the scene, the guy was tearing people up for fun. You go back and watch Callum Hudson-Odoi under Sarri, watch him before that injury, he was tearing people up. Now, you can only go for so long to keep talking about the injury before you're like, why are you not doing that now? Why are you not putting bums on seats? What's going on? So those are the two areas in Callum that I'm really worried about, is his ability to take players on and really devastate with his pace, which he used to be. Do you remember when he played against Arsenal? That first game we saw him, he was devastating.
Yeah, under Sarri, he
looks like he's lost a yard of pace. If I'm to be completely honest, he honestly does not look like he's recovered fully from that injury.
And I don't think you really can, because an Achilles injury is
he's not explosive anymore.
Recover from, yes, that's the most ridiculous. That's the most difficult injury to recover from. Back in the day when the technology and that wasn't there, it was the knee ligaments and the Achilles. But now that we've got the tech for the knee, the knee ligaments of the keyhole surgeries and all that, the Achilles, it seems to be the one that's the most tedious to deal with. And we're seeing the same with Loftus-Cheek, because he ain't. In my opinion, he still does, but before he had an extra step in his game. He was beating players, he was taking shots from outside of the box. You could see he was trusting himself a lot more.
Physically, these guys were on another level.
Yeah, but understandably, you see, with injuries like that are so major and that threaten your career, it's gonna be in the back of these guys' minds every time that they play. They're going to second guess themselves on certain 50-50s. They're going to look at certain players from reputation and think, well, boy, I don't really want to get too rough with him, because it might be another year out and 2 years out, and at the top level we're done. But we can't afford that. I know it's mad, but we can't afford that mentality at Chelsea. We cannot. We can't have any passengers.
No.
And this is why 100%. I say with Callum, if his finishing don't improve, and his decision-making in the final third, he gets it right, he gets it wrong, yes. But I'd rather see him, but there's times where I know that you should have been getting it a lot more right, more often than wrong. See, if he doesn't fix that, he ain't going to be good enough to play for the club. And that's just me being completely honest, because look, if we want to be chasing titles and that, it's like you said, we've got to have these world-class options there. These guys should not be our first choice in these positions.
No,
absolutely not.
And this is why, just on a pure basis, I tend to have more patience for the development of Pulisic, Mount, Hudson-Odoi, and Kai, because they're all young. They're all young. I see baseline talent. Just every single one of them have got areas they really need to improve on. We talk about Mason last night. Ghost. Didn't see anything from him. Honestly, just evaporated from the atmosphere. Nothing from him yesterday. And I think, like I said, I think his performances last season were better. I think statistically this season he's looking good and he's having good moments. But I think overall his performance, he was much more influential and a lot more. His imprint on the team was a lot stronger last season so far. I wouldn't have him anywhere near player of the season, regardless of his statistics may be a bit better or whatever. He's nowhere near player of the season contender for me. Whereas last season he was head and shoulders clear. Even under Lampard, he was still pulling through with performances against Fulham, etc., away from him at Craven Cottage when we needed to win. So I think Mason's dropped off, but that's fair enough. At least we have had a top season from Mason, a full season. We haven't had a top full season from these other young guys that we're talking about, from Kai, from Hudson-Odoi, from Pulisic. We haven't had a top season from them, a consistent top season of top level football. Kai being a second half, second half of the season player it's not going to cut it. You know what I mean? That's something he needs to sort out. Pulisic, awareness, looking around you, assessing your options, decision making there is very important. Get some goals. Got a good goal ratio actually. Out of all the attackers, he's probably got the best goal ratio to games at Chelsea Football Club. But doesn't really cross, doesn't really switch play. So there's things in his game that you could hope to improve. I said it before. If you put Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi into one player at their age, that would be a solid talent that you could start week in, week out, because then you'd have a bit of everything. But they're both missing what the other one has in a funny kind of way. But I put more of the responsibility on those experienced forwards, and that falls to your Lukaku's, your Werners, and your Ziyech's, who are 25 plus or in their prime, and they're meant to be putting in the work. And the level is just not there. And like I said, this is why I'm not so gung-ho on, oh, these attackers, get the best out of them, because I just don't think they're as good as we think they are.
Facts.
Now that I every time we make a new signing, I do a video on Twitter. I hype up the signing. I'm excited. I get round them. I back them. I support them. So every single signing we've made, I've wished them well. I want them to succeed in the club, regardless of my opinion before they joined. I always come out and say, listen, this is it. Now they're here. Let's get off to a great start. Let's go, because you never know, and that should always be the hope for any player that joins your club. But the warning signs were there with a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
And Man United fans tried to tell us a little bit about Lukaku and the personality he is and what his limitations. And obviously we had the PR. And like I said, with Ziyech and Werner as well, their limitations are clear. And we talk about actual multifaceted forwards. I go back again to some of the forwards we've had that can actually do it all. Juan Mata could score, could assist, could create. We didn't need to worry about Juan Mata had to play in this very specific zone to do this very specific pass across from the right to the left. And that's all we're here for.
Juan Mata, that little man was a genius at Chelsea. His
brain
was so far cleared. It's just ahead of everybody else.
I don't think we actually deep how limited we're asking our players to play behind these attackers. We're asking them to do, like, we need Ziyech in this exact zone so he could play this exact pass, because that's exactly what we bought him for. We need Werner to play in this exact second striker zone with this exact ball in behind for this exact goal that we saw him score at Leipzig, because he can't pass, he can't dribble, can't header, can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. All these players can't do this, can't do that, can't do this, can't do that. So many things they can't do, and we're clinging on to those couple of things they can do. And expecting in a game of 90 minutes where anything can happen, that these exact scenarios that we've seen on YouTube are going to play out.
Yeah.
Nah, it's not how football works. You need to be able to adapt with the game. You need to be able to offer more than that. You need to be able to do many things in a football match. You can't just do a very select few things and expect that to be your only option every single game. You have to play that exact pass every game. It's not going to work like that. What if they close you down on your left foot? What you got now? Are you going to dribble past them with some pace? Are you going to put it on your right foot? Oh, you're not. You can't use your right foot, no? You can't dribble past players with some speed, no?
Yep.
So what now? When we're playing a low block with Werner and that ball in behind isn't on, what are you bringing now? What now?
Facts.
What now? This is the problem at Chelsea, is we have loads of players that are system-based, that are limited as hell.
Limitations
Simple as
FC, bro. Trust me. Let me read out this super chat before I forget. Big up yourself, 88th, but stop. Do you guys see the Sarri DNA in this team? Safety-based possession in the heat of things, your default to your level of competency, pass backwards. No, honestly, I don't even think that was really Sarri's full DNA anyway, because we've got to be fair. He only had one season as well, this brother.
And it takes a long time for Sarri to get his
exactly. And if you see where he got Napoli to at the end of it, where they lost the Serie A, I believe it was by like a point that year from Juve. You were flying at the time. That's not how it weren't like that. With Sarri, I'll defend him. He had a lot of stick from the fans, and a lot of it was unfair. Yes, he was frustrating in terms of how rigid he was and being stubborn and not changing his making changes in the game. Yeah, I get it, but I still think, like, with the time that this guy had, he done an all right job. I mean, he won the Europa for us. You get me? Got us into top 4. I can't complain with the job that he did. I just wish he was treated with a bit more respect when he was at the club, to be honest with you. But yeah, so the last thing I will say about Mason Mount is he needs. You can see he's knackered, and Monster quite rightly said that we are in danger of burning out these players quicker than they should be. You know. And one example he did mention was Wayne Rooney. By the time he was 28, he was shot to pieces. And we don't want to be doing it in this club. We've already got N'Golo Kante, who's now shot to pieces as well, as a result of overusing this brother. Yeah, everyone's saying Kante can run for days, is a machine, is this and that. He's human too, bro. And he's been breaking down way more frequent than he should have been. You get me?
Started breaking down 2 years ago. Bro.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And we're still not paying attention to the warning signs here. We're still forcing this guy back early. Obviously, it's not through the manager's choice, it's through the recruitment, like we were saying. But let's move on to the FIFA Best 2022 awards, which definitely sparked some controversy. But we'll go through the winners. We're going to start off with the FIFA Player of the Year, the men's. Robert Lewandowski, Bayern Munich, Poland, the winner. And to be honest with you, I can't really knock that one too tough, to be honest, because I think Lewandowski is taking way long for this brother to get his flowers anyway. Yes, we don't, we're not judging him on previous seasons, as this is based per season, performances per season, but I still feel that Lewandowski did deserve that when you look at it. Matisse, what do you think about that decision there?
Yeah, I mean, he should have won the Ballon d'Or. This guy he's been way too underrated for too long now in terms of his accolades, personal accolades. It's why I don't really take these award ceremonies and solo accolades seriously, because I don't think they really represent performance. I think they represent clout sometimes and opinion, and really not really on what is really going on out there. And when you go and break Muller's record, and this season you're on fire again. Him and Benzema this season, at the age they're at, are on fire. And Messi's only got 1 goal in the league still. I know Champions League has been a lot better, but he's dipped massively. That has to be taken into account. It should be taken into account. So, voting for the Ballon d'Or, I know this is not the Ballon d'Or, but voting for the Ballon d'Or, I think ended mid-November or something, start of December or something like that. And that clearly wasn't taken into account this season's performances when we talk about who's winning the trophy. So, yeah, I think Lewandowski's been hard done by for a long time, so he fully deserved that one. Fully deserved.
Yeah, 100%. I'm not gonna argue on that one. Obviously, I'm gonna read out the women's one. Although I'll admit I don't watch women's football. I don't know too much about it. That's not me being disrespectful towards women's football, but I'm just speaking facts. You get me? But Christine Endler. Oh no, this is the team. Oh no, Alexia
Barcelona player in the team.
Alexia Putellas is the women's winner of the FIFA Player of the Year. Apologies, I got that right. I was actually reading out the women's team. But let's move straight on to the men's team. And I'm going to start off with the goalkeeper. And I was disgusted the same way I was when Donnarumma won the previous award. But you do see Donnarumma up in there again. The PSG goalkeeper. Obviously, he got his Euros. He got his Euro trophy. But do I think that he was better than Edouard Mendy the entire last season? Absolutely not, mate. And I think he was robbed yet again for that starting position. Donnarumma, top quality goalkeeper. Let's not lie. World-class goalkeeper. But Edouard Mendy, based on what we saw last season, definitely should have got that spot. Matisse, what do you reckon?
Yeah, no, 100%. Donnarumma, great in the Euros, but even still, Edouard Mendy, Champions League, just undeniably for me should have got it. And it's not even bias. It's just the guy has been outstanding, And again, this is what I'm talking about. How can you be, sometimes you're in the team of the season, but you're not the goalkeeper of the year, or you're the goalkeeper of the year, but you're not in the team of the season. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
I have to agree with you, Matisse. This thing is just so politicized. It doesn't reflect the best goalkeepers or the best players in the world in their positions all the time. A lot of it comes down to name, stature, what club you play for as well. Do you know what I mean? Now we're going to move on to the defenders, and this one also made me sick to the pit of my stomach. David Alaba, Ruben Dias, and Bonucci. Can you please tell me which one of those centre backs have been better than Rudiger and Thiago Silva last season?
Well, none of them.
Not one. Not a single one.
But yeah, here we are sitting here. And it's like, again, this feels like what, maybe 5-6 years ago they're talking about this team. Bonucci, Alaba.
Yeah, fam.
It's like, come on now. Where did Juventus finish last season defensively? What were they on in Serie A? You know what I mean? When you take a look at, are Juventus even in Champions League this season? Don't think they are.
I don't think they are.
I don't remember seeing Juventus in Champions League. So, it's very interesting. It's very interesting. I mean, you've got Rudiger up for a shout there. What, best defender? Probably one of the top 3 defenders in the world. Probably this year. Not even in the team. Again, it's a farce. But this is why I personally don't get annoyed when I didn't tweet once. You'll notice I didn't tweet. If you go back, I did not tweet once when these got ordered out.
Yeah, I didn't. I didn't either.
I don't care if I didn't do a video on it. I don't care if it's good news, if it's bad news. I don't care if the players got it or they didn't get it, because I don't rate it. I don't rate it because I think too many times now I'm seeing it's a popularity contest.
Yeah,
correct?
Marketable 11.
Marketing. It's clout. So for me, whether it's good or bad news, I'm not gonna rate it if Mendy wins it. And then the next year, when someone wins it that shouldn't win it, I'm going to discredit.
Yeah.
It's just easier for me to just not rate the whole thing. The
whole
thing is a farce.
Yeah, and we're at a point where, like, if you already know what to expect and you're expecting something different, really, like, it's your own fault.
It's like FIFA with the ratings, bro.
Stage. Yeah, it's like, why are we getting
people are still getting angry about FIFA with the ratings? It's like, bro, you know where it is. Do you know what I mean? I can't get angry about the same shit. It's not happening. Like, we know where it is with the ratings with FIFA. We know it's going to be a fugazi. So I just let it happen. I don't get involved. Don't get involved.
No, absolutely. Then I'm just literally going to go through the team, man. But then you've got the midfielders. You've got Jorginho in there. Boy, listen, if we're being honest with you, he shouldn't be in there, in my complete honest opinion. Although he won what he won, we're not going to take that away from him. But boy, I can name a couple of midfielders, in my opinion, that are better than Jorginho. You get me? Kante, definitely. Yeah, how many man of the match in a row did he get in the Champions League? It was ridiculous, isn't it?
But then he was poor for France. And this season he's being injured. So I don't know. I think for me, who else would you have in that midfield? Because for me, I think they're both kind of I'm not talking about who's the better player. Obviously, Kante is a much better player. But if we're talking about the season they've just come off the back of, then they're both very, very close in terms of achievements. And I would say Jorginho over the period of the Euros obviously was 10 times stronger because he was just in a much better midfielder for Italy, and 100%. They obviously won it. So I don't know. It's a weird one. Who else is in there?
In that midfield, we just lost the page now. In that midfield, we also have Kevin De Bruyne as well.
Again, wasn't great in the Premier League last season.
That's what I mean, bruv. Didn't really like this place up, bruv. But then we got the forwards: Cristiano Ronaldo, Erling Haaland. Yeah, no one's gonna argue.
Yeah, that's cool.
That. Lewandowski, no one's gonna argue with that. Messi. This is what I'm saying. This is a marketable 11, bro. It's not it's the most marketable 11.
No Salah?
Not even no Mo Salah. No Salah.
Benzema?
No Benzema.
I mean, you could only have so many strikers, I guess. It's I don't know. I'm looking at what's happening this season as well, innit? If they're taking this season into account, the likes of Mohamed Salah and Benzema have got to be sneaking in around that team. Over Ronaldo as well.
100%. Especially Mo Salah. Mo Salah goes without saying. Puskas Award goes to Eric Lamela. I believe it was that the Rabona.
Yeah, they still lost as well.
Oh yeah, they still did lose 100% in typical Spurs fashion. Then goalkeeper of the year, finally some justice. Mendy gets that. And coach of the year, Thomas Tuchel. I don't think many people are going to argue with that. Women, Emma Hayes. So we cleaned house on that one. You get me? But like, really, aside from that, bruv, I don't really invest too much time in these awards. I literally only wanted to speak about it because I got so many requests for us to talk about it. So that's why I addressed it. But Matisse, have you got anything else going on today? I'm going to bring this stream to an end because I know you like it's around that hour mark you usually have with me, innit?
Yeah. For me, obviously London Club's Carnage, if you haven't seen it, that was out on YouTube. Also, I think Twitch will be back on today, with Mo. Then also we've got potentially another Twitch stream later on as well, maybe at 11. So yeah, there's the content for the rest of the day will probably be on Twitch, but there's something on YouTube right now as well, and All You Can Eat Chelsea will be back tomorrow as well.
No, definitely, guys. If you're not subscribed to Matisse, make sure you do subscribe to him. Obviously, you hear for yourself quality content all the time, very informed and smart opinions from the man. Also, Man Knows Football. We are on the road to 5,000 subscribers. I think we're like 300 and something away. So help us make that happen, man. Help us share. You get me? Grow out this community and that. Love interacting with you guys. Big up everybody that's there in the chat and the comments. Gonna try and get these lives a lot more frequent and trying to do this daily. Actually, it's just about building a routine. You get me? At first, it's about building, and then when you get into routine, it gets that bit easier, man. But big up everybody that's here. You get me? Up the Chelsea, Matisse. Thank you very much for joining us, and we're gonna see you same time next week, Wednesday, right?
Yeah, next Wednesday. Yeah, I think technically now my issues seem to be a little bit better. My new laptop seems to be in working order, so we're almost all back to normal services resuming slowly.
Yeah, 100%. Oh shit! Are we supposed to be doing something on Friday?
Yes, on Friday, but I'm still not even sure. But it should happen. Yeah, it should happen on Friday.
Just
I'll let you know. Yeah.
Just let me know. And to everyone, smash the notification bell, man, so you don't miss none of the shows, man. But wherever you are, whatever you're doing, please make sure you do stay safe and bless up people.
Did he? Am I still by myself here? What's going on? Well, guys, this is my channel now.
I kicked myself out.
His brother kicked himself out. I can't end the stream. I know I ain't got their facilities for that, big man.
Yeah, nah. I kicked myself out. I hit leave studio instead of end broadcast, man. But everybody, man, take care of yourselves.